Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rome.
In our top story, the International Criminal Court has advanced plans to issue arrest warrants for Israelis, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other top officials. The White House has worked with Jerusalem to fight these efforts in The Hague, which could potentially endanger all Israeli citizens. Israel's Foreign Minister Chaim Katz released a statement saying, "There is nothing more twisted than trying to prevent Israel from defending itself against a murderous enemy that openly calls for the destruction of Israel." He warned that if the orders are issued, they will harm the commanders and the soldiers of the IDF and give a boost to the Hamas terrorist organization and the radical Islamic axis led by Iran.
Israel made an extraordinarily generous ceasefire offer to Hamas. World leaders have appealed to the terror group to accept the deal. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken urged Hamas leaders to swiftly agree to Israel's proposal, which would see the release of around 1,000 terrorists in exchange for just 33 Israeli hostages. Numerous sources reported that Israel dropped its original demand for the release of 40 hostages to 33 after it learned that many of the captives have been murdered by Hamas. Speaking from the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Saudi Arabia, Blinken said Hamas has a proposal that is extraordinarily generous on the part of Israel, and at this moment, the only thing standing between the people of Gaza and a ceasefire is Hamas.
Saudi Arabia has moved closer to normalizing ties with the Jewish state. Riyadh has been working closely with American officials to forge a peace accord that would include the Gulf states' recognition of Israel. The proposed deal reportedly includes nuclear cooperation and bilateral defense and security commitments. The Royal Kingdom has found itself increasingly vulnerable to Iranian attacks, which pose a grave threat to the Saudi monarchy. Riyadh recently participated in repelling the Iranian strike on Israel by sharing intelligence and the use of its sophisticated radar systems. Experts believe that one of the motives for the Iranian-backed Hamas massacre in Israel on October 7th was to derail this historic peace agreement. Now, after months of U.S. brokered negotiations, the fruits of progress are reportedly within reach. Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah confirmed the advancement of the talks, saying that normalization is very, very close.
U.S. President Joe Biden could restrict arms sales to Israel if it moves forward with the military operation to root out the Hamas terror group in Rafah. Washington has put enormous pressure on the Jewish state not to enter the last Hamas stronghold over what it claims are concerns for the safety of the civilian population. Thomas Friedman of the New York Times reported that U.S. officials have confirmed that if Israel does mount a major military action in Rafah over the administration's objections, Biden would consider restricting certain weapon sales to Israel. This comes in stark contrast to the wishes of the majority of American voters who support a full-scale invasion of the Hamas stronghold. According to a recent Harvard CAPS poll, 72% of U.S. voters want the IDF to pursue a military operation in Rafah to finish the war. 78% want Hamas removed from power. The findings also reveal that 80% of Americans support Israel in its war with the Iranian-backed terror group.
The U.S. military's project to construct a floating pier off the coast of Gaza is already grossly over budget. U.S. defense officials have confirmed that the construction will cost $320 million, nearly double the original estimate. More than 1,000 U.S. Army and Navy personnel are participating in the construction of the seaport. Senator Roger Wicker, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee, lamented the inflated expenditure, saying the cost has not just risen, it exploded. He said that the project is a dangerous effort with marginal benefit that will now cost the American taxpayers at least $320 million to operate for only 90 days.
Thousands of radical Muslim protesters descended on the city of Hamburg, Germany, demanding the establishment of an Islamic caliphate in the European country. The rally was organized by the Muslim Interactive Organization, which has been accused of attempting to radicalize German adolescents by the use of social media platforms. The Muslim youth in Germany have become increasingly susceptible to Islamic indoctrination, due in large part to the efforts of this group. A recent survey of ninth-grade Muslims found that nearly half of this age group believe that an Islamic theocracy is the best possible government, and two-thirds said the rules of the Quran are more important than the laws of Germany.
Israel has erected a massive tent city near Khan Yunis to house Gazan refugees. Israeli taxpayers have footed the bill for thousands of tents to provide shelter for Palestinian civilians. This comes as Arab nations surrounding the Jewish state have closed their borders to Gazans attempting to flee the Hamas terror group. The Jewish state has made major provisions for the civilian population of Gaza, despite the overwhelming support they have shown for Hamas's massacre of 1,200 people on October 7th.
Officials in London concealed a Holocaust memorial located in Hyde Park. The Daily Mail reported that Metropolitan Police covered the statue honoring the victims of the Holocaust ahead of a pro-Palestinian demonstration. The article was published under the headline, "Met Police are so cowed by the anti-Semitic mobs that they even cover up the Holocaust." Police responded by saying the decision to cover up the statue was made by the Parks Authority and was meant to prevent vandalism. Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Memorial and Museum, released a statement saying the decision to cover up Holocaust memorials and exhibitions out of fear from the scourge of global anti-Semitism is deeply troubling.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared the month of April as Arab American Heritage Month. The Democratic state leader said California joins the nation in recognizing Arab American Heritage Month and lifting up the profound and wide-ranging contributions of all facets of our society. The decision comes as anti-Israel protests have taken the world by storm, and anti-Semitism has skyrocketed after the Iranian-backed Hamas terror group infiltrated Israel and murdered 1,200 people and took 253 others hostage, sparking the war in Gaza. The move initiated by President Biden is seen as an attempt to appease Arab Americans ahead of the upcoming elections.
Israel's Minister of Diaspora Affairs has expressed Jerusalem's disappointment with President Biden's response to the pro-Palestinian protests that have rocked college campuses across the United States. In an exclusive interview with the Jewish News Syndicate, Amichai Shikli criticized Washington's lack of action at the violent anti-Jewish protest. He said the harassment against Jewish students and support for Hamas should be condemned. When protesters wear keffiyehs and chant for globalized intifada, they are saying they want more Jews to be murdered and women to be raped. Shikli noted that many Americans are unaware that Qatar provides massive funding to American universities and that anti-Israel riots are fueled by foreign actors.
American Democratic lawmaker Ilhan Omar visited Columbia University, where violent pro-Palestinian protesters have called for the destruction of Israel and death to the Jews. Omar accused Jewish students who support Israel of being pro-genocide. Jewish organizations worldwide accused Omar of spreading an anti-Semitic blood libel and demanded that she apologize for stoking the flames of Jewish hatred.
In financial news, the Israeli shekel has strengthened against the U.S. dollar and the euro. Analysts believe the rebound is due to the current ceasefire negotiations as well as post-holiday spending. The Israeli currency experienced a dip after the invasion of Israel on October 7th and the resulting war with Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and Iran. The shekel's depreciation was slightly offset after Israel fended off an unprecedented Iranian attack of more than 300 drones, ballistic, and cruise missiles. The Israeli market has proven its resilience in the face of hostilities on multiple fronts, and experts remain optimistic that the shekel will continue to strengthen.
An Israeli delegation arrived in Malmö, Sweden, ahead of the much-anticipated Eurovision Song Competition. Edin Golan will be performing Hurricane at the Eurovision semifinals on May 9th. Her performance comes amidst controversy surrounding the original song and persistent protests against Israel's participation in the competition. Israel's initial submission to the contest, entitled October Rain, was disqualified by the European Broadcasting Union for alluding to the Hamas massacre of 1,200 people in Israel on October 7th and the kidnapping of 253 others to Gaza. Israeli writers were forced to revise the lyrics and song title in order to participate in Eurovision.
Israeli athletes have taken Olympic qualifying competitions by storm and have brought pride to the Jewish state. Israeli judoka Raz Hershko won the gold medal at the recent European Judo Championships. Other blue and white athletes won a total of 4 medals at the qualifier held in Zagreb, Croatia. And Israeli jiu-jitsu fighter Yarin Shriki won the gold medal in his category at the Paris Jiu-Jitsu 2024 Grand Prix. Shriki survived the massacre at the Nova Music Festival, and he dedicated his win to friends who were murdered by Hamas terrorists on October 7th.
Sirens will sound and all activity will cease for 2 minutes on Monday morning as the State of Israel observes Holocaust Remembrance Day. For the duration of the siren, the nation stands and pays solemn tribute to 6 million Jewish lives lost. The main memorial service will be held at Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, where survivors light torches in memory of 6 million Jews murdered by Germany and its collaborators during the Second World War.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is Lily Feinstein. She's the co-founder of Mini Mitzvahs. Lily, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what is Mini Mitzvahs.
Mini Mitzvahs is an organization that was founded by 3 gap year students, me along with 2 friends, Ariella Goloborodsky and Noah Haron. Mitzvahs comes from the Bible. Mitzvahs means a good deed.
And so what does Mini Mitzvahs do?
Mini Mitzvahs is an organization that feeds soldiers from north to south all over Israel. We have fed over 10,000 soldiers, and we boost their morale, and we come with singers and dancers and people to come and make these soldiers happy with fresh new faces after they've been fighting.
Well, this is really amazing because you came here on a gap year to study, and then you started an organization to help the soldiers. Why was this important to you?
Starting Mini Mitzvahs was really important for me because when I arrived in Israel and it wasn't the normal experience that I've had before in the past. When I would go out and I would look around, there wasn't 18-year-olds around, and it was really important for me to do my part in this helping in this war. As a Jewish 18-year-old, I think that it's really not only do I have the opportunity to be here, but to actually be boots on the ground for Americans who can't be here and to be their hands here.
You know, what's interesting is that you were actually here on October 7th, and then you went back to America, and then you made the decision to come here. Why an 18-year-old American girl? Why did you come here during wartime?
So on October 7th, I was here, and it was a really, really sad day for Jewish people all across the world. And when I returned home and I didn't have a program to attend, I was destroyed. All I wanted was to be in Israel. And although my parents pushed me going to Tulane University and starting second semester, it was really important for me to come back and to help and assist our country.
And now that you've done this, you've come here, you've helped so many soldiers, what message do you have for other people who wants to get involved, who wants to help?
I think that it's really important to see firsthand what's happening in Israel and the country, that the country has never been more unified and together. And not only are we at a time of war, but the people of Israel have never been so unified. And you can see it firsthand when you visit the hospital and you see what the energy is like on the floor. And not only is it sad and lonely, it's full of life and happiness, and people are happy and grateful to be alive and to celebrate together.
We're seeing an incredible rise of anti-Semitism in America, and I'm always talking to my family and telling them they need to make Aliyah and come to Israel. But my family is always telling me I need to get back to America. It's dangerous here. Being in America and then coming to Israel, where is it more dangerous to be a Jew right now?
America, 100%. In Israel, we have the IDF protecting us and keeping us safe. In America, it's quiet. And of course, the news is covering it, but in America, you don't have the IDF protecting you.
So what is the danger in America right now for Jews?
You can feel it when you go to your synagogue and when you go to school, that the Jewish students have to tuck in their Jewish stars around their neck, and you're not as loud and proud to be a Jew as you would be in Israel.
So if other people want to get involved, let's say there are people at home and they're saying, I want to do something, how can they get involved with mini mitzvahs?
So you can follow us on Instagram at mini_mitzvahs. We also have a WhatsApp group chat where we provide volunteers the opportunity to come and help and volunteer at the barbecues. We've given the opportunity to over 250 other gap year students to come.
This isn't just 3 girls who went to school doing this. Obviously, you need a lot of support to help already 10,000 soldiers. How are you mobilizing support for this initiative?
Everybody wants to help, just people are unsure of where their help is most needed. And when you send out a quick text, it's overwhelming how much support you receive. So we've partnered with Shimon Romach, who has a food truck and comes with all the food, and he's given us all the connections to all the bases. And since January 21st, we've raised over $100,000.
Oh, that's amazing. So what do you say to people who are like, look, you're in the middle of a war. I want to help with bomb shelters. I want to help with, bulletproof vests. Why is this more important than anything right now?
We are speaking to people personally and listening to their requests, like one-on-one, and requests that aren't so generic that you would hear day to day. We're taking more unique and personal requests. For example, we helped a wounded soldier propose to his wife. We are very focused on making the soldiers happy, and that's the beauty of mini mitzvahs, because we have the freedom to do and to help in many different ways.
Lily, most of the viewers watching are Bible-believing Christians. How can Christians get involved with mini mitzvahs?
Mini Mitzvahs is an organization that's not just for Jewish people, but it's also for Christians and anyone who wants to take a part in helping in this war.
Lily, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The IDF is currently fighting a war to protect Jewish civilization and Judeo-Christian values. Everybody needs to get involved and take their part in helping this war. You can get involved through mini mitzvahs.
Thank you, Lily, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning into Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Feinstein. Now back to the studio.
And now the truth from Zion.
Taylor Force was a U.S. Army veteran who was murdered in 2016 when a Palestinian terrorist from Judea and Samaria entered the Israeli city of Tel Aviv and carried out a stabbing attack that killed the 28-year-old Texas native and left 10 other people severely wounded.
The Texas native and veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan was visiting Israel, out for a walk by the sea, when he was stabbed.
American Taylor Force died at the hospital. The 29-year-old veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan was studying business at Vanderbilt University in Tel Aviv on a school trip to share his insights and knowledge with startups in Israel.
Local police chased the Palestinian attacker along the crowded Tel Aviv promenade and shot him dead. Currently, according to Palestinian Authority law, the family of the Arab terrorist is to be rewarded with a lifetime monthly salary from the Martyrs Fund of the PA, since the attacker was killed during his deadly rampage. The salary is around 7 times more than the average wage for a Palestinian worker. The generous payout is meant to incentivize Palestinians to murder Jews. This program is known as pay to slay. When the news of the payout of the blood money reached the United States, the Congress under President Donald Trump passed legislation aimed at stopping American economic aid from going to the Palestinian Authority.
Taylor Force Act will stop American payments to the Palestinian Authority unless they stop paying their kids to kill other people. Taylor Force is not Jewish, he's not Israeli. He was an American at the wrong place at the wrong time.
In 2016, the same year Taylor Force was murdered, the pay-to-slay program totaled 8% of the Palestinian Authority budget, totaling $315 million, which mostly comes from international aid.
It's got to hurt for Stewart and Robbie to know that the taxes they paid go to a Palestinian Authority who rewards the killer of their son.
The measure calls on the Palestinian Authority to stop payments for acts of terrorism. It also directs U.S. representatives to the United Nations and the U.S. State Department to speak out against the pay-to-slay program. The hope is that by ending the payments for terror, there will be more of an opportunity to create lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Despite the law being clear, it has not prevented pay to slay from happening. The Taylor Force Act was passed during the Trump administration and did have a financial impact on the Palestinian Authority. However, the administration of Joe Biden not only restored the lost income to the PA, but greatly increased it.
According to the Taylor Force Act, it is illegal under U.S. law to give funds to the Palestinian Authority because it will ultimately be diverted to fund their pay-to-slay program. It is unthinkable that the U.S. would fund terrorists that have killed Israeli and sometimes U.S. citizens. U.S. funding of the PA must stop.
Recent developments have brought the Taylor Force Act back into the spotlight. The United States is legally bound not to fund entities that support terrorism, and yet the Biden White House is providing fresh economic aid to the Palestinian Authority, raising concerns about compliance with the Taylor Force Act. Less than 2 weeks after the October 7th massacre by Hamas terrorists, the Biden administration sent $100 million to the Palestinian people to assist them with humanitarian needs in Gaza and Judea and Samaria. The statement said the United States provides humanitarian assistance through trusted partners, including UN agencies and international non-governmental organizations. Almost immediately after the genocide on October 7th, the PA announced that it would be paying the terrorist for life. When Biden's office published word of the $100 million aid package to Palestinians on October 18th, many people found the timing to be inappropriate and insensitive. Critics argue that providing funds sends mixed signals about the position of the United States, especially when it comes to upholding its own laws. The Taylor Force Act seeks to stop incentivizing terrorism and perpetuating violence in the region. But giving money to Palestinians is cause for concern. There needs to be accountability regarding where the funds are actually going. As deadly attacks continue to plague Israel, the issue of terror financing needs to be seriously addressed. The Biden administration risked undermining efforts to combat terrorism by continuing to provide economic assistance to the Palestinian Authority. Moreover, it raises questions about the administration's commitment to the principles outlined in the Taylor Force Act and holding state sponsors of terrorism accountable for their actions. Up next, the ICJ Report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Today we're at the Magen David Adom Blood Center in Ramla. We're here to tour the facility and to learn about their preparations in the medical field in Israel. And we're also here to dedicate a Medicycle that has been donated by our Christian friends around the world.
Since 1980, the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem has been a voice of Christian support for Israel and connected the global church to the land of the Bible. Headquartered in Jerusalem, the ICEJ has taken action to stand with Israel by caring for Holocaust survivors, helping Jewish families return home to Israel, providing bomb shelters, fighting anti-Semitism around the world, and by inviting Christians to discover Israel for themselves.
We are just unveiling in a second this motor scooter that already saved the lives of 11 people, even though it's only 1 week old. Wow, here ICJ donated by the generous donation of the Korean family in Manitoba. Toda Rabah.
I think the most rewarding thing is the pure knowledge that whatever we do is to reach out a helping hand to a person in need. And it's even more fantastic when we learn that it changed their lives and are healing and are getting better. This is the most rewarding thing that any of us feel. I've been working with Christian supporters for Magen David Adom for many, many years. So to me, it's already something that, I don't know if the right term is used to, but still we admire it because it's not taken for granted. And this is a very important support because people in Israel not always understand and know how much care, love, and concern Christians from all over the world feel towards Israel as a country, to the people of Israel as human beings. And this type of support that Magen David Adom is receiving through Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, through so many ministries and Christian organizations and so forth, is a lifesaver. Christians from all over the world are our partners in saving lives. They stand shoulder to shoulder with us when we reach out and treat other patients, whether they have a heart attack or seizures or deliver a baby, or they are hurt by a car accident or terror attacks. They are all the time with us, and we in Magen David Adom feel their strength and their spirit. And I think this is the most important thing that people would know. We cherish the support. It's so important.
We want to say a huge thank you to all of our friends around the world who have donated so generously to our Israel in Crisis Fund, which is enabling us to help Israel in these difficult days with a variety of aid, whether it's these medical equipment or shelters or aid for evacuees or victims of terror or a whole variety of assistance that Israel can use in these days. We want to say thank you for giving so generously.
After Hamas brutally attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, the ICEJ has been actively standing with Israel and her people through advocacy and urgently needed aid projects. Now is the time for Christians to turn their love for Israel and the Jewish people into real action as never before. Your donation will help deliver bomb shelters to at-risk areas, provide necessary supplies for first responders, care for evacuees with food, shelter, clothing, and trauma care, and will eventually help rebuild these devastated communities. Visit ICEJUSA.tv to donate online or call 1-800-910-6355 and give your generous gift today.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El-Ron, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.